Hi guys, Thomas here with your Guitar Academy, and I've got some news for you. If you don't get this down, you are not going to sound the way you want to. What is this that I'm talking about? It is feel. How do we get feel? That is the big question. Scales aren't going to save you if you're not able to express yourself the way you want to do it. If I said to you, here's a track, I don't want you to play, I want you to sing something, everybody can do it. Everyone. It's in there. It's inside your head and your ear. The question is, can you get that to come out on the guitar? That's the hard part. And we get so kind of sucked into the idea of what scales can I play over this? How fast? Where's my licks? Blah, blah, blah. That we miss the most important part, that we've got to make something sound and feel good, right? And when we put this medium of the guitar in between what's in our heads and what actually comes out, we complicate things. So we have to try and fight past that complication to get to really what are you trying to sound like? So we got Gravity by John Mayer as our example because it's so simple and it sounds so good. And actually it's quite hard to make it sound as good because of that simplicity. And we're going to take you through the ways that he makes it sound as good as he does, right? So first and foremost, this is a melody, right? Like I said before, if you sing something, it's going to sound good. You know what you're trying to make happen. This is a melody. John went, da, 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 da. He made that up in the shower, I think I remember even reading. Then he went, okay, let's put that on the guitar. And you hear that all the time. That's why it sounds so good, because it came from his voice first, and then he figured it out. And then you do this long enough, and suddenly you don't need to figure out what it is you want to sing first. It just happens, right? So let's look at this little riff and figure out, break it down. Why is it so good? So we got to look at all the little ways John makes this sound like it's a voice rather than a guitar. The very first thing we hear, slide. It's not, lacks that smooth legato, just that kind of slide in from nowhere. When you're speaking and you kind of sing a note, typically you're just going to have that little lift up into the note. It's not going to go straight into that pitch. So first of all, there's a technique. Really get your slides down when you want them to. The next thing you hear is, right? There's two things here. One's really subtle, one's really obvious, vibrato. And if you're starting out, vibrato is really difficult to make it sound good. And that's it. It's purely about how does it sound, how does it feel? And you go, you see people doing this, or like people moving their finger all the time. Remember, it's like a little bend. You got to do a tiny micro bend, constantly repeating. So you got to try and find what's the circle of your motion. Not necessarily a physical circle, but are you able to loop the motion into itself over and over without having any big differences in how far you're pushing the string or how quickly? And it's really, there's not much to it, but thinking about a doorknob, that kind of motion. Make that super small and super repetitive, and have the guitar in between the door, right? The door, like the doorknob. Then it's just sitting and trying to get that to work. But don't have loads of arm movement, loads of hand movement. Just a little bit, just to get that note to sing, to wobble. Now I mentioned two things. The other thing is, did you hear it? there's a little staccato. What's a staccato? When the note gets chopped off super quick. So it goes bop, bop. When he's singing it, ba, 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 it's not ba, 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 where they ring into each other. It's, and it's super subtle. Really, really, if you're not listening for it, you don't realize it's there, but it really shapes the phrase. Okay, and all I'm doing is just letting go of the pressure, not lifting the finger off or anything, just I stop pushing in. Or if you want to do it on your picking hand or your fretting hand, you can just touch the string in between. All right, so both hands are fine. So the next thing, bend, of course. And again, we're noticing this thing where he's trying to slur notes into each other, and bending is the best way you can do that in guitar. You hit all the little microtones in between two notes, just like again you would as you're singing, if you're trying to bend a note. Bending comes back to that doorknob motion, but a bit more aggressive now, much bigger motions. The key is pitch. You've got to get the bend to the right note. Can't be above or below, because just like a singer, it sounds really bad when a singer's out of tune. Same thing with bends, and it's hard. Every guitar is a little bit different, so you get out on one and then you go to the next one. It's just not quite there. It takes a while to build this muscle memory up. So anytime you're trying to practice your bends, remember 3 fingers, not 1, not 2, 3. It's nearly always going to be in your 3rd finger. This is for a full tone bend. And then you can do this anywhere. Take where you want to bend from, take where you want to bend to, keep that pitch in your head. That's the note. Go back to where we're bending from and just push it up to there. Can you hold it? Here's the next part of it. Can you bring it down? But particularly with this, he's got that little kick back up to the bend. This is super tricky. If you've not been able to do this before, I'm not surprised. It takes a lot of time just to sit. First of all, can you get the pitch, which I was a little bit off? Then, can you quickly dip under and push it back up? It's almost like you just start to fall and you catch your hand. The pitch has got to be the same both times. You're going to find it really hard to get that the same each time. Overbent. Then the last little bit is legato, or sorry, vibrato on the bends. Again, there's nothing more to this than just getting your bend right and just practicing shaking the note without losing the pitch. Always comes back to that. What you're going to find happen is, if you're new to this, is you start to vibrato and you start to lose the push on the bend. There's no tip, there's no trick or secret. It's just sit and do that. And try and get it to sound and feel good again. And that's really so much in such a small phrase. And that's how he starts to achieve that really smooth, voicey, slurry, legato feeling to his playing. There's all these little elements that he's mastered, okay? And then the last part of it, like we said, was the melody. It's such a lovely tune, right? It's so memorable, so simple. So then he kind of phrases it, right? The last part is phrasing. Is it a musical sentence? Okay. Then where does the sentence go? Just like we're sitting here, I wouldn't say to you, chocolate covered guitar banana cakes, right? Because that makes absolutely no sense. What you're playing has to try and make sense. So try and relate it to where you've just come from. Try and relate it to where you want to go next. It's very hard to explain as conceptual stuff, but it's a feeling. Listen to yourself, record yourself playing, and go, is that where I wanted it to go? Does it sound like what I've just played logically flows or musically connects to what I've just done? Or is it just my fingers moving over a piece of wood that happens to have strings on it? If the answer is the last one, then, like we said before at the start of the video, you got to practice singing a phrase finding those notes on the guitar. That's such valuable practice, which a lot of people don't take, and it's a bit embarrassing singing. You don't need to sound good. You just need to say, these are the pitches I'm trying to reach, roughly, and then find them. So the next thing he does is repeats. The most simple thing you can do is repeat a phrase, but he just changes it slightly. So it's a question and an answer. He poses a question, then he gives the answer. And it's the same idea. And one last little element I forgot to mention is he goes straight from, it's like a hammer-on bend, another slur, another little part of how smooth he gets at the sound. So he doesn't pluck it there because it's too aggressive. He pushes it straight up from these two notes. Then we're talking about his phrasing out. That is the answer part. He posed that in the last phrase, and then just like he's speaking, he wants something that makes sense. Also, he's got to make sense with what's the chords, what's the harmony underneath. Then it repeats it. And then finally concludes his sentence. That's like the musical full stop when he brings it back to this note. And you don't need to think, is this the root note? Is this the fifth? Yada, yada, yada. Just think, this is home. That's my musical home. Walked in the front door, put my feet up, I can relax now. In this key, right? So much of it is feeling, which is really hard and conceptual to explain, but you know in yourself, that sounds good, that sounds bad, I like that, I don't like that. Once you know that, it's in there. Speak it, sing it, get those phrases and those notes the way you want them, then copy them on the guitar. Do that enough, trying to push yourself, experiment, and you can play like John or whoever you want, that really smooth, really clear, crisp skill, mixed with the technical ability to perform like these bends and all this stuff, which is subtly really difficult. So if you want to learn a little bit more about John Mayer, click here to take you to another one of our videos. If not, stick around, I'm going to play you guys out with some of these ideas I've been talking about. I'm thinking purely about melody here. What's the notes I want to hear? I'm not going to play loads of notes. I'm thinking my best B.B. King impression, which is what John does all the time. So hopefully that's been useful, guys, and I'll see you next time.